The Hog's Eye is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsdie.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hog's Eye. It's DC's unofficial leading source for all things Redskins and the NFL during the season and all off-season long. My name's Sean Conti. Hope you all had a great weekend by the time you hear this. I've got Steve Thomas, Alex Zeese, and Jamal Forrest here around the mics with me. How you fellas doing?
I've had a rough week, I'm going to be honest.
Oh, man.
I've talked about my wife threw her back out, so that was fun to deal with. Taking her to the ER at 4 in the morning yesterday.
And how did this happen?
Hey, at least you did the right thing and took her, though. You didn't just put her in in an Uber.
No, I'm not that terrible, thank God, of a husband. No, but the worst thing that happened, we lost power, had to call the power company to come out. Somebody somehow shot one of our electric cables going to our house.
They literally shot it?
You mean like shot
with
with
a bullet?
USA.
There's a bullet hole through the cable.
Oh, wow.
That's
And
American.
you'd like to point out that Alex lives in what part of D.C.
Southeast.
do you live in? And that is the highest crime part of the city.
It's for some things.
At least it was
Yeah, for
years
some
ago.
things.
Suddenly
it is.
this all
If you want,
gets
like,
perspective.
okay. Corporate crimes, you got to go to Northwest.
No, I'm talking about personal crimes of violence.
Yeah. Robbery actually at Northwest too now, I think. Because, that's where all the
Northwest?
rich people live. People from here go there to rob them.
What about straight up, like, just shoot 'em up gang
I'm guessing
violence? Is
that
your
we
neighborhood?
probably lead in that. Just
Okay.
guessing.
So is it that unusual then? Is it really that shocking that Alex has a bullet in his house?
Not in my house, in the power line. So that's a good shot.
Oh, so it's not.
That's a great
the power
shot.
line coming to
Right,
your house.
somebody
then.
shot that.
Wow, yeah, that's an eagle eye marksman.
Yeah,
right there.
if they didn't
Whoever you
intentionally,
are out there,
and if it wasn't just a stray. Yeah.
Will blow out.
yeah, I mean, you need to go join a shooting team or something. Whoever,
wasting your
is doing
life,
that.
just, doing whatever you're doing now.
You can
He was
take out
doing his
power
homework,
lines with
Alex.
them.
He knew that day you really wanted to watch TV.
Right.
been practicing.
I'm just glad we weren't recording an interview.
Do you have any? And do you have any enemies?
I mean,
Alex?
they're all on our blog.
Okay. Do you have any enemies who would actually be willing to commit?
They're all
violence
on our
against your
blog.
person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
several.
None of them know where you live, thankfully. So.
I can think of at least 6.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. Well, I didn't get shot
Probably
at.
show up at my house before they show up. at
Yeah,
your
that's
house.
true.
Well, I didn't. I haven't gotten shot at, Alex, so I can't relate to that. We had a quick discussion before we started today about what the hell we were gonna talk about today, and my goodness, slim pickings. But we do have our usual assortment of position group breakdowns and user polls. Correct? Do we want to start there,
Yeah,
fellas?
let's do that.
Or do we want
We
to?
do have a user poll.
Okay, let's do that.
And of course, bear with me because I forgot to print the
Aw.
poll. So I'm going off this online, and being how I'm an old school person, it's more difficult for me to do this online than if I have a piece of paper. Because the guys who do the show with me know that I have a zillion.
The
pieces of
people
paper
who
all around
listen
me
hear
every
it
time.
too, Steve. They can hear the papers like flying as you're reading them.
That is a production problem, okay? Blame the producer for that. Don't blame me. Okay, here's the poll this week. The Redskins' corner position is in flux this year. Who do you think should start at the number 2 outside corner position opposite Josh Norman? Your options were Quentin Dunbar, Fabian Moreau, Orlando Scandrick, or the ubiquitous other. So, as we always do, we like to hear what you guys think the audience would have voted for, and then we'll save the tell us what you think for when you do the position group breakdown. So let's start with Sean this week.
No, start anywhere other than me.
Let's start with Sean this week. Don't whine and cry about it. Give us your guess. See, because I know what you're trying to do, Sean. You're trying to glom off Jamal's answer because he gets these right.
Look, it's
So
not a
want you
mystery.
to
I
show
do that
your-
every time. I openly admit this, Steve.
Why don't? This is why I'm making you go first this time. Get out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
You already got out of your comfort zone once today.
Okay.
Do it a second.
All
time.
right. So who's going to start number 2? Who's the number 2 corner on this team?
Who does number 2?
Correct.
Oh God, I don't know. I think there's a couple ways that people could go with this. I guess I'm going to say
There's actually 4 ways people could go with this, but what's the one they probably did?
I really have no idea what people are going to say.
Tell you
I'll
what.
say-
Stop. Tell you what. No.
No,
Stop.
no. I
This
got
is
an
a
answer
terrible
for it.
Well, let's. Okay. All
I got an
right.
answer
I was
for
going to
you.
let you off the hook.
I'm going to guess people said either Dunbar or Skandrick. I don't really want to take a firm stance on either one, and I'll say Dunbar.
All right.
I didn't know we could pick half
Let's
the
save
answers.
them all for the end. Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna go
can be as
Dunbar
wishy-washy
or
as you want.
Skandrick or Moreau or maybe
You
if
can't
anything,
copy
I'm
me.
gonna
I
go
already
other.
gave that answer. I already gave that answer. Now he's glomming off me.
All right.
What is this?
All right,
All right,
Alex. Tell us what you think and give us a better
All
answer
right,
than
I'm
Sean
gonna
did.
make a fist and say one name, and that name is Quentin Dunbar. Mostly because I've always liked Quentin Dunbar. Like
You just like saying Quentin.
I-
Quentin
yeah.
Dunbar.
Is that your opinion,
I
though, or
like
is that your
listening
guess?
to Jay Gruden say Dunbar because he always says it with that long R on the end, which is nice.
Because he's weird.
Dunbar.
That Midwestern accent of his. So
All right.
Are you saying that's your
Jamal.
answer, though, or that's what you're guessing people said?
I'm guessing that's what the public said, and that's what I would say probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jamal, can please give us the right answer and stop these fools from talking.
the same is for me with Alex. I think the people said Quentin Dunbar, and I also feel Quentin Dunbar will probably be starting. Though I will say, and I guess we'll talk a little bit in depth afterwards, I do think the competition will be neck and neck between Dunbar and Moreau. So I wouldn't be surprised if Moreau finds a way to beat out Dunbar in terms of the number 2. So we'll see.
I can see that. Yeah.
So
it'll
no
be
one
tight
here
this
has love for
season.
Skandrick, except for me?
No.
All right.
Nobody here.
Well, the public, as it turns out, agreed with all you guys and voted for Quentin Dunbar by a vote of 54%. Fabian Moreau came in
54.
second with 34%, and Orlando Skandrick was third with 10%. And then
Damn.
2% of you out there think other, which is kind of amazing that you would think
Well,
other.
maybe
but,
they
you know,
voted
okay,
after
to each
we
own.
had the supplemental draft, and they're all in.
They're riding that
Well,
Alexander
this poll
train.
was. I did this poll Thursday morning at about 6 a.m. East Coast
Right.
time, and that was after the supplemental draft. Right, that was Wednesday.
Was the
if I
draft
recall.
Wednesday? My week was crazy, so I don't remember.
It certainly wasn't
something-
Thursday. It
Yeah,
was
something like that.
Yeah. Okay, and we got some comments this week. Let's start with Mark Tyler from Hogs Haven jumped in on here, and he's a guy whose opinion I respect on these. And what he said is, until Moreau has proven himself, Dunbar should start. And when Mark says that meaning he's watched all the film because he's one of their X's and O's guys, and so he's a guy whose opinion you should
Sure.
you should listen to.
Thanks for responding, man. You're the man.
Yeah. Okay, Stephen Robinson, who is at... See, if I had a printout, I could... Okay, here we go. At Robbo_Routers. Dunbar deserves his first shot after strides he's made. Kip Cousins, who is at Nick J. Merrill, says, I'd like to see Moreau outside because of the speed, but I don't know where he is in terms of development, which is a fair point. Right now, Dunbar should be the starter, but I want to see him eventually move into the slot given his size and length against tight ends. That's one. Yeah, well, we'll get to that, man. That's his opinion,
Yeah.
you know. And then Reginald T. Skinner, who's at Reg Skinner, responds and says Breland.
Sorry, there's your other guys.
I thought that.
Nice.
Yeah, there's your other. So Reginald T. Skinner says Breland, which, you know, hey, I respect the honorary attitude there.
Hey,
so
hey,
those
he's
are
still
some
out
comments
there,
this week.
right? Yeah.
He is
Yeah,
still
I
out
think
there.
so.
I mean, should we re-sign Breland, guys? I mean, it's the elephant in
No.
the room. At least it was before. Yeah, that's my
Where do you
thought,
rank
you know.
him on those other guys on the poll, though? That's the question I have for you. Where are you putting Breland next to those three?
I mean, I put him above all three.
Well, you can't
but-
just say that though. It's a cost.
Sure.
It's a cost factor. It's a salary cap issue.
Well-
he's going to be dramatically more expensive than all of them.
That's a good question. How much more expensive do you think? Actually, I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time with this, but curious to what you think, Steve, is how expensive do you think his contract is going to be? I mean, he's not signed one, so.
No, I mean, at this point, he may have to take a one-year deal, but understand this much. I mean, of I mean, Josh Norman's earned $16 million.
Right.
You know, and then Skander's got 2.5, and then Quentin Dunbar has 1.75 in terms of cap hits this year. And you'd have to think that Breland's probably looking at least more than Dunbar, and in terms of cap hit and stuff. So the question would be, if say you can get him for something that amounts to a $2 million cap hit this year, and with a contract the Redskins can get out of, after 1 year,
right.
Is he that valuable? I mean, they've drafted 2 new guys. They've drafted Stroman and Alexander.
That's right.
I mean, at this point, I'd just let him go. I wouldn't sign him.
The thing
for
about
any reason.
Breland is, what was his deal that got canceled with the Panthers? It was something like $24 million for.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it
3
was a
for
big
24.
contract.
Yeah.
Big deal.
So I mean,
Yeah.
he's probably gonna have to take less than that on a 1-year prove-it deal.
Oh yeah,
at this
he's on
point.
a 1-year deal, probably like the minimum.
Well, I don't know
Close
if
to
he would get the minimum. I don't know if he would sign for that.
Well, minimum's about $800,000. I mean, look. I mean, if the man
Yeah,
wants a job,
maybe.
he may have to take it. It may not be up to him. The other question about Breland is he really healthy? I mean, he didn't fail his physical.
No,
for no
it
reason.
sounds like a
He
serious
didn't fail
injury.
a physical because, it was the
Yeah.
Panthers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Panthers wanted the man, and they didn't fail him out because he changed their mind at the last minute. So there was something
he
wrong
said
with
it was
him.
a serious
He hurt his foot.
injury.
Yeah,
Injury, yeah.
Yeah.
on vacation.
So the combination of that plus, I mean, we've got other guys now. If it were up to me, I'd just let him go.
I don't like that we let him go. I've always been hey, you've got homegrown talent, keep him guy.
Yeah,
me
too.
Like, to me, it was not a...
Which we never do.
Yeah. To me, letting him go was not the best move, but you got to move on at this point.
I think
that's right.
part of Breland's problem is he was kind of a pain in the butt, at times.
He was a hothead.
It wasn't exactly... Yeah, he was a little bit of a hothead, and I'm not even talking about didn't he get arrested for weed once? I mean, I'm not even talking about that.
Can't remember.
I mean, he mouthed off a lot on social
Yeah.
media.
And
He's a
on
bit of
the
a
field.
hothead. He wasn't the best attitude guy, and I think you throw the combination of injury plus high salary demands plus, while he's not a complete malcontent, he was a little bit of a, attitude guy. Throw all 3 of those in, and that's probably why they let him go.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment. It's, at some point it becomes more, than it's worth. Okay, fair enough. So we did have the supplemental draft. We got another player that factors obviously into our position group breakdown today. Do you guys want to just hop into talking about corners in general now? Do you want to talk about Alexander first? How do you want to
Let's start
take it?
with Alexander.
Unless you...
I would say, because the
fair
whole
enough.
supplemental draft thing is interesting to me, or it always has been to me. We got Alexander in the 6th round, so we're giving up a 6th round pick for 2019, which apparently we're going to have a bunch of because of all the picks we're going to get for guys we let walk this year.
And we're going to get compensatory picks next year because of that, primarily because of the Cousins.
Right.
Anyway, yes, we're probably going to have 4
so
of them
we'll probably
next year.
have an extra 6th anyway, if not better than that.
Right.
This is the first year in a while where 2 guys were picked in the supplemental draft, because Sam Beal was picked in the 3rd round, which, seems high to me for a corner in the supplemental draft. But, I mean, I think it's a great signing by the Redskins. This is their 3rd guy from Tech in this year, in this draft class.
Yeah, you got to be happy about
okay.
that. Alex probably geeking out over there with all these local boys.
Yeah, well, all the local guys are. I was never a big Tech guy, but, I grew up in
Still.
Northern Virginia.
Okay.
You're either a Tech guy or a
Yeah.
UVA guy at some level.
There you go.
Let's talk about Adonis Alexander. Now, the reason why he's in the supplemental draft in the first place is he was academically ineligible for the 2018 season. He has a marijuana possession arrest on his record, which affected his status at Virginia Tech.
That was from
Legalize
2016,
it.
I think. Wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
I believe it was 2016. Now, the word I got on Adonis Alexander, from a decent source here who I trust, says that he's really got great ball skills. Obviously, has good length and size. He's not really a disciplined player on the field, but he's a solid get in terms of a 6th rounder. In terms of the school thing, what the person told me was that, the Redskins should not be worried about his effort in practice and on the field. The thing about him was he just didn't like school, and so he ignored school, but it didn't really show on the field and in practice. That's what I heard. The drug test thing, I don't want to go too far into it, but the drug test thing is the drug possession thing is, I think, a valid concern and something that the Redskins need to be wary of. Of course, he's got Torian Gray as his position coach, who was the corners coach at Virginia Tech. So if anybody knows this man, it's Torian, and Torian clearly vouched for him before they drafted him, because the Redskins have to be idiots not to go ask Torian what they thought of him. So you have to think that Torian's okay with it, and if he is, we all should probably be too.
Well, this is the third Tech defensive back that we've gotten in the last 2-3 seasons since Gray came here. So I think we also have the first guy worked out. So I'm excited for the two we got this year to see, what exactly comes from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to Stroman, but Jamal, tell us about Adonis Alexander.
Well, you got to remember, we had a conversation on Twitter. I haven't had the chance to actually look up on Adonis. I didn't know much about him outside of the fact that Redskins fans wanted him. Obviously, like Alex said, a lot of Tech fans, local people who knew him, they was hoping that the Redskins, and they pretty much assumed the Redskins was going to get him after they found out we were in attendance at his workouts. So I don't know much about him, but just from basically what I've heard, and I'm just putting that out there, is what I've heard. It's not information I can really give you. But he's the guy who's the type of he's like the physical corner. Obviously, his size and length is beneficial, and basically what Steve has said. But as a cover 3 guy, and the fact that we are in a lot of cover 3 situations, cover 3 defense for the Redskins, it suits him well. So to understand the concepts wouldn't be difficult for him, and getting him in the supplemental draft this late in the year, as we're 2 weeks away from training camp, it's not necessarily a hindrance. He'll have to play catch up, but the concepts defensively are pretty simple. In terms of what he'll need to know as a cornerback, I know like NFL defenses, they're complex, and so are NFL offenses. But just for him learning the learning curve, coming in so late in the year, I don't think it's going to be too difficult for him. He'll have an uphill climb, but the thing is, when someone drafts you in the supplemental draft and they take a future pick to get you, they won't just throw you in the trash so soon. It's something that they're really trying to invest into. So to take someone that late in the season, or late in the off season, they're willing to move forward with Adonis, and hopefully he turns out well. But the physical traits are there. And I told you, I thought he ran a 4.9. One of those sites, for whatever reason, said he ran a 4.94, and I'm like, are y'all serious? But
yeah, I could run a 4.94 back then.
It was a 4.6. I looked at some other sites just to see how incorrect they were, and it was multiple sites saying the thing.
So you got 4.6 too, right? Because I saw 4.6.
He's in good shape here. He just has to stay out of trouble. But the team is clearly willing to invest in him. And Torian Gray is a guy who he coached under, I think, for a year before Torian moved on. So it's definitely something worth seeing. And if it pays off, it'll work out well.
The first thought that went through my head when I saw that we drafted him was whether the team might be considering converting him back to safety. Because I can't remember if you said this or not, Jamal, but I mean, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. He was actually a high school safety, and Virginia Tech converted him to corner. So I mean, the thought went through my head that maybe if it doesn't work out at corner because of numbers or whatever, he's a little bit more versatile than some of these guys. In that he has some experience playing safety and has the size to play safety. So I think that's something to watch for, is whether they do that. We haven't heard anything one way or another, about it so far, but that's something to watch out for.
He'll be so buried on the depth chart probably this year that, those guys who are like the fifth corner sometimes have to play some safety anyway. Like, that's what teams do now.
Yeah, I mean, if he's even on the on the depth chart, he could be a practice squatter.
He'll be returning kicks by week 3, guarantee.
Well, that is probably
not at that force speed.
So I only went and watched highlights and stuff. I'm not a big Virginia Tech guy or anything, so, like I said before, but
yeah, I've only watched highlights.
Yeah, what I saw from those was he seems like a very physical guy, which I like. I one of my pet peeves when Hazlitt was the coach, was our corners always were playing very soft, giving 15-yard cushions right away. And I like seeing a little physicality from corners. I know that's harder to do in the NFL now, but I want to see you on a guy's hip and, hitting them as soon as the ball's there, trying to break it up. And he looks like that kind of player.
Adonis did a phone interview with media this week. We did not participate because it's too early in the day for us. But I do have some quotes here. They sent us the transcript of it. Just a couple of points. They asked him if he's talked to his Virginia Tech teammates. He said he's talked to Stroman and Settle and Coach Gray, and he called Kendall Fuller and talked to him too. So, that sounds smart. I mentioned the safety and corner thing. They asked him about that. He said, at safety, I feel like my strength is just being an instinctive player. I feel like that's a plus for both positions. As for cornerback, my instincts, that would definitely be a strength at corner. Because as far as corner goes, it's a one-on-one thing with you and the receiver. That sort of tells me that he sort of thinks himself as a man corner, perhaps.
Most of the
zone
things
guy,
I saw online said that he's better in man than zone at corner.
Yeah. Me too, and that's what I saw as well. That he's definitely more of a man corner. He's not much of a zone guy. But
he tries to be a ball hawk.
Coach.
He tries to get in there and make a play on the ball a lot, which might get him in trouble in the NFL, I would imagine.
Well, ball hawk. He had 7 interceptions in 3 years at Virginia Tech. 4 his freshman year, 2 in 2016, and 1 in 2017. So he does have the ability to, does have some hands. Here's an interesting thing. This is the last thing I wanted to say here. They asked him, the question was about how he received the call that he was drafted. He says, I was actually in my room with my mom playing a game. I was playing Fortnite. I was playing with Tim Settle of the Redskins. So he was playing Fortnite with Settle when he got drafted with his mom. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's a great story. That's the story of our
times.
There,
right and he gets the call, and he's like, hey, Tim, where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do now? Hopefully he probably didn't answer his phone if he was playing Fortnite, because I know that the kids,
they zone out.
Are addicted to Fortnite. Yeah, they zone out when they're playing Fortnite. I mean, half the time when we talk to Sean, we're trying to get a hold of him, and he's always on Fortnite.
Sorry, what'd you say?
He's doing it right now.
Just kidding.
All right.
Fortnite. So that's Alexander. Yep. Sounds intriguing. I have to say too, Alex, I watched his game tape too. He looks slow to me. I know maybe his 4-time wasn't as slow as you guys said, but he looks pretty slow, and he looks like you said, Steve. He calls himself an instinctual player. That seems like what it looks like on tape. It makes play for the ball. He breaks on that ball and tries to make a play on it. It might work out. It might not on the Redskins.
The only thing I'll say about him looking slow is a lot of times taller guys look slower than they are, because they're long striders, and so it doesn't look. You don't really see how much ground they're covering. So
fair enough.
That may be a little bit of a depth of a perception issue.
Optical illusion. That's true.
Yeah. You want to move on?
Yeah, let's get into the rest of these guys.
Well, let's start with Josh Norman because he's our number 1 corner.
My man.
6 foot, 200 pounds. Yeah, out of Sean's beloved Coastal Carolina.
CCU.
Sean's former roommate.
Last year was...
Yeah.
Sean's... you've never got him on the show, Sean.
No, guys, he's waiting on hold right now, but once again, we're not going to get to him if we keep going. We're going to have to push him back to next week.
We want to do our position group. We want to do our position group breakdown. We don't want him on the show.
You're right. You're right. He's a distraction.
I think this past year was Norman's worst year as a pro outside his first 2 years in Carolina. Just statistically. Well, he had no interceptions. Right. He was hurt a significant amount of the year. He only missed 2 games, but he was hurt a lot. He wasn't himself for a big chunk of the year, whereas the past 2 seasons, he's been fine. So before that, with his Pro Bowl year or his All-Pro year in Carolina and his first year in Washington, last year just wasn't the same Josh Norman, I didn't think. I'm still high on him. He's not a huge athlete guy. He ran a 4.6 40 himself. But he's got great cover skills. Just when he gets in trouble is when he's matched one-on-one with a guy who's a lot faster than him, like Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
That's when he gets in trouble, when he's right there with his coverage skills, but he just can't keep up.
Although he's had some good games
against
even guys like that. Odell, he frustrated Odell that one game pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to knock him. I think he's a legit number one corner. I do, and I thought he deserved to be in the Pro Bowl in 2016 at least.
Not last year.
You know.
Like you said, the injuries.
No,
Yeah.
not last year. Yeah. So Jamal,
well,
what
I
do you think?
agree to an extent that this was one of Norman's most unimpressive seasons. But I'll just say with the Redskins, and I think that 2016 was, decent. It was good. He was a cover corner, a very good cover corner, one of the best in the league. But the fact that our secondary wasn't good and our defensive line wasn't even adequate, to say the least, was frustrating because Norman didn't really get a chance to stand out. However, the same issues that he had in 2016 was even worse in 2017, and that was simply making plays. Like he was good. He was a good person who could force fumbles. 2016. I mean, he forced a few, but his interceptions, getting his hands on the ball and actually holding on to the football when they were in his when they were in his hands, that was a huge issue. And he had 3 interceptions in 2016. 2 of those came against one of the worst quarterbacks we ever played that year, and that was against the Bears. So I mean, it's just frustrating to that point. And I don't want to bring up his contract because I mean we all know what he's getting paid, but to talk about the type of player we expect him to be versus what he has been is very discouraging. Just to the point that we need him to be the playmaker that he was in his previous 2 seasons in Carolina. In 2017, no turnovers or no interceptions at least. I don't remember if he had any forced fumbles, but no.
He had one forced fumble in 2017.
No interceptions, but he's had a few that were dropped. And that's just frustrating. A lot of people say he can't make plays if they don't throw him the ball. Well, I mean, we actually talked about this already, so I won't go too far in depth. But it's simple. They still take chances at Josh Norman, and there's a few actually this year late in the season where he got burnt like a few times. His speed was on display, and it was just ugly. 2 teams that come to mind was the Chargers and the Vikings. He had issues against those two teams and their receivers. So I personally, now I know I talked about the negative. Everybody's going to think that I'm thinking he's a terrible player. He's not. I'm just highlighting the negatives of Josh Norman because it's only really comes down to making plays defensively. His coverage skills are still there, but his speed is lacking a little bit, and he's just struggles to make turnovers. So don't get it confused. I think he's a very good player, but in order for him to be considered a success here, he does have to be that person we expect him to be when he signed in 2016.
I misspoke, by the way. I was looking at the wrong column. He had 1 fumble recovery and no fumbles. So, and I think what Pro Football Reference saying by fumbles is forced fumbles. So he had 1 fumble recovery, but no forced fumbles.
So he literally forced no turnovers in 2017, and for a number 1 corner, a person that again that we expected him to do great things here, he's just pretty good. So.
Let me say this about him, and because I agree with what you're saying, Jamal. In terms of the fumbles or the turnovers, rather, he does lack some speed, and it shows in times. But I think he's got a mentality that will serve him well. If you look back in his background, this is a man who was undervalued and a bit disrespected at every turn. He was an elite athlete in high school. No Division I no scholarship offers at all. He walked on at Coastal Carolina, which is something I didn't know. He had an outstanding, career, obviously, at Coastal Carolina, a preseason All-American in 2011, yet he was underdrafted in the 5th round. And even then, they didn't trust him to start in Carolina. He lost his job at one point. This is a man who has continued to come back and continuing to strive and work in spite of a lot of football negativity that he's encountered, in his playing career. So, this is the type of guy to me that just when we start to doubt him, he's probably going to turn around and have a good season. Call me crazy, but that just seems to be his history. You know, I mean, even he even won He came in second Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
For
Yes,
Christ's
he
sake.
did.
I mean,
how much is he getting hurt by the fact that A, he's obviously the number one obvious clear cornerback there, and B, teams don't really need to throw against us because we couldn't stop the run last year. So how much of this is a result of that? You know, as a
A
result,
good chunk of
or
it, definitely.
versus?
I mean, you
That's
can't
what I'm
discount
thinking,
those facts.
Well, I think you have to give him credit. There were a lot of games over the past 2 years where opposing teams did not throw at him. And that's a sign that they respect his skills.
Yeah.
And they respect his coverage ability. And I think you have to give him credit for that, even though that's a little bit of an intangible thing that's hard to quantify.
Absolutely. But, I mean, it's totally valid that could result in less turnovers if people aren't even going to throw at you.
I mean,
Yeah, but zero. Jamal's right, though. Zero turnovers. I mean, in a year, that's just unacceptable from a number one corner.
We as Redskins fans, we've seen our share of very good cornerback play over the last couple decades. You know, we've had a bunch of legit Hall of Famers here, you know, sporadically throughout being, you know, the Redskins' history.
Darryl Green, Deion
Champ,
Sanders,
you know,
was here for Champ Bailey. Even Tom Carter was a Pro Bowler, I think, at one
Smoot
point in
was
time.
really solid, you know. I mean, he passes the eye test.
David Amerson's
Right.
in that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
He had that one great year, man.
Yeah. But
No, that was with the Raiders, unfortunately.
yeah.
It wasn't ever
That's
with us.
right.
my point
That's right.
is that, you know, as a Redskins fan, I think you kind of know what you're looking at when you see a corner play, even if he doesn't get the ball thrown at him. And he passes the eye test. He is tight on his, you know, man most of the time. You know, occasionally, you know, you have a Stephon Diggs or somebody who beats him with speed.
Yeah,
But-
that's a fair point,
Yeah,
though.
Norman passes the eyeball test in every way as a fan. When you see him get a shot to make a play, his hand is on the ball. You know, he might not make an interception, but he breaks up the passes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about his contract in the last show, so I don't
Right.
want to go into it again. You can listen to that show if you want, but the general gist contractually is that we're stuck with him this year no matter what. He's not cuttable in 2018. He is cuttable in 2019 if the team
Right. The
wanted
only
to.
concern
I
will be his
don't
age
think they
going
will.
forward, I think. You know, he's in the plus 30 category
Yeah.
now, so.
Right.
Watch it.
Yeah.
Alex,
Hey.
watch it. I'm in that
Hey,
category, too.
I'm 5 years older than you.
Fair enough. All right, who's next on the list,
All right.
then? Let's keep going down.
Quentin, let's go Quentin Dunbar next because he won the poll as the potential number 2 corner. 6'2", a little shade under 200 pounds, out of Florida. Remember, folks, he was a wide receiver in college, and Mike Shanahan converted him to corner, you know, here. And the reason they did is that he's a smart player, you know, a film rat. You know, he's done amazingly well to me in his conversion. You know,
He's had some
and
heroic moments for
yeah.
those.
He has. You know, stats-wise, if you want to go over stats-wise, you know, he's been kind of consistent the past 2 years in terms of tackles, 23, 24 tackles. He's had 3 interceptions in his career, 1 each year. But more than that, it's really hard to do stats for corners. At least if you're not PFF and, you know, you want to fraudulently lie to the public and make them up.
Hater.
They've already blocked us. A bunch of the writers have already blocked us, okay? So, and it's because of me, because I keep bashing them on the
God,
show.
Steve.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, screw them. Anyway, the point is, I think Dunbar to me is, I don't know if he's developed to the point where he is an inside corner, but I think he's a great boundary corner. You know, and I think he's going to be a solid number 2 starter. He's demonstrated the skills, and the Redskins believe in him. You know, the Redskins believe in this kid because they gave him
2-year extension? 3-year deal. Okay.
Three-year deal, signed through 2020, and they gave him, you know, $5.25 million.
Yeah, it doesn't break the
guaranteed,
bank. That's the
I
good
mean, they
thing.
believe in him. No, but it's good. It's good money for him, though. It's a $10.5 million contract. You know.
So,
yeah,
how
go
much
ahead.
of the love
No,
for
go ahead.
Dunbar is just this sort of romanticization of his story here, how long he's been with the team? He's had some very nice moments for us, but honestly, asking you guys this right now, would he be a better corner against? I mean, versus like Skandrick, who I know is older and, you know, whatever. There's questions there too,
Well,
but is he really better than
I think
Orlando
there's different
Skandrick?
kinds of corners, partly.
Yes. No, he's better than Skandrick. Let me talk. You want to do Skandrick now? You want me to hold it?
Well,
I wrote
I don't want to take us off if we're
2,000 words.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I wrote 2,000 words on Skandrick and watched a bunch of his
Right.
All-22
Okay.
film 2 weeks
All
ago. But Dunbar, you go ahead.
I mean,
Alex,
here's my thing about Dunbar. I think the story is, nice, like you're talking about. Every offseason we have like fan favorites, and he was one of those who worked out. It's guys like him and Alfred Morris, who
That's a good point.
they come up from nowhere and they suddenly become, good players. So
Colt Brennan.
Yeah, exactly. Colt Brennan. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Colt Brennan. He didn't work out, but
we used to call it the cult of Colt, and it kind of extends
right.
to those guys as well.
Anthony Mitchell, Tony Mix. Remember all those guys?
Those guys were, the failures.
I think Mix is. I think
One of
Mix
them is.
in
I
jail,
can't remember who.
Yeah, I think.
But
It's
anyway,
Mix.
so Dunbar's a success story in that respect. So there is that. But when you look at how he plays, he is kind of like Alexander in that he's a very physical guy, and he uses his size to an advantage. I don't think I ever really want to see him in the slot. I just want to see him. Here's what I would do. I would basically look at the opposing team's wide receivers and say, who's the big man? Dunbar, you get the big man. I don't care where he is. Just follow the big guy around on the wide receiver core. I don't need him in the slot to, try and get some advantage in the run game. I need him, able to beat guys on jump balls from time to time.
Well, think about
Nice.
this. A lot of times the X receiver is not necessarily their number one guy. Sometimes the number one guy is going
Right.
to be the Z, meaning, the end but off the ball, not in the slot. A lot of times the X guy is
Right.
a possession guy. And so that would be, if you're going to do that and you're going to have Josh Norman, trail the number one all around, what they say, travel, that's the buzzword. Is
Right.
he going to travel? If you have that, then Dunbar is sort of by default going to be normally on
Right,
the
sure.
X. And so that's going to be exactly what you're saying. The bigger possession guy, that's maybe Dunbar. But Dunbar has some speed,
I'm
though.
not knocking his
the man
speed. I
is
just
not
think
slow.
you've got to use. You don't have a lot of big corners in this
Yeah.
league and on this team. This team now has two, which is a rarity.
Right.
You want to
Yeah.
use that to your advantage the best you can.
But I don't think, to answer the question, I think was it Sean that brought up, the
Yeah.
romanticism of, this guy. I don't think it's that.
I don't think it's
for
that anymore.
Dunbar.
I think it was at the
I
start.
think he's just proved himself as a competent, professional
Mm-hmm.
NFL corner, I think.
Fair enough.
He's got to be a
Let's
hard
hope it-
worker to
wanted-
have made the transition so well.
Well, I think he's what I've heard is that he's very, very smart, football smart, and he's a very good film study, which is why he was able to make the conversion so fast, and that's why Shanahan noticed that and had him convert instead
Right.
of just cutting him. So take that for what you will. Orlando Scandrick, I wrote a long piece. If you want to, it was posted July 6th, so last week. If you want to read that, please do, because I put a lot of effort into this. But here's the deal with Scandrick. He's a 10-year vet, and he was a burner in his younger days. Ran a 4.340.
Wow.
He tore his ACL and MCL in 2015. And so you combine that, a dude who's 30 with ACL tear. He's not running a 4.3
No.
anymore. What the film showed to me, I watched a lot of his All-22 film, and what the film showed to me, first of all, Dallas primarily played him as a slot corner. He was occasionally on the outside, depending on how the offense dictated, but primarily he's a slot corner. I don't think he's a very good slot corner, which is why Dallas cut him. I don't think he's a very good slot corner anymore. What I saw is a lot of slot receivers could create separation on crossing routes and shallow out routes because they just had more bursts than he did. Scandrick maybe saw it and just can't keep up. And so when you're running an out route as the primary, and that's the primary read, all you need is a split second in the NFL. And so they were able to get receptions on him because of that reason. So I don't know if that is his thing anymore. I tend to think that Scandrick on he was fine on a lot of downfield patterns when he can it's essentially just run
Right.
and keep up sort of defense. He still has enough speed where he can do that, but I just don't think he has his burst anymore with the combination of age and the ACL. So I think he's probably better as a backup boundary corner, it seems to me, rather than a slot corner. That's what I saw on his film. And he's not. He doesn't make the greatest reads in the world. There were times when it looked like he sort of did the wrong thing. And that tells me that I think he's better on the outside than in the slot. So that was what I saw on film in a nutshell. What do you think? Because I know a lot of people think he's a slot guy, but after watching this film, I'm not sure.
I've never really when the team signed him, I didn't think they were signing him to be a starter anyway. It seems like some people are really hyping him as, oh, he'll be the number 2 or he'll be the starting slot guy. I see this as just a, hey, you have a lot of youth. You need to have some veteran depth just to be on the safe side. Every team needs, Josh is, 30 now? Skandrick's, going to be around that age. You need 2-3 of those guys to go with 2 or 3 young guys. The young guys should beat somebody who's a veteran out. That's the best way to run a football team at every position, I think. So that's what I see him as.
Tell you this, if the young guys go down and Skandrick's got to go out there, I feel much better with him out there than a lot of other
than some
players
undrafted free agent. Yeah,
absolutely,
out of some small college.
Well, I think that's why they brought him in.
I hope so.
Exactly. I think he's more veteran depth, and I think that anybody, the 10% of you who voted for Skandrick as the starting, number 2 guy, I don't think that's what you want. I don't think you want him as our starting slot guy. I think both of you are exactly right. I think he is veteran depth at most, and there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of players at corner this year. He's going to actually have to beat somebody out because his contract is one that can be cut.
But we can confidently say that he should definitely make this team. I mean, he should definitely, right?
We'll get to that. Let's run through the rest of them and let's do predictions
Steve,
at the end.
Steve, you're freaking me out,
that?
Steve.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Dunbar, unless anybody else has anything else to say about Dunbar.
And Skandrick? No. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Fabian Moreau is next. 6 foot, 200 pounds out of UCLA. This guy is an elite athlete. He didn't have much playing time last. He was active for 16 games. He didn't really have ton of playing time. Only 4 tackles, 3 assisted tackles last year. He was not. Listen, I mean, the injury at UCLA kept him from being drafted higher. He was probably going to be a first-round pick if his offseason had gone well, which it did not. He didn't run a lot of slot at corner at UCLA. I don't think he ever played slot at UCLA. But to me, it seems like just with his youth and athleticism, if Torian Gray can coach him up, I think probably his highest and best use this year is Dunbar as the outside guy and Moreau as the slot corner with his youth and athleticism. That's my opinion.
We just got to get Moreau out there on the field to see what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't make an assessment of him, which I know is something Jamal mentioned too in the article.
Jamal's exactly right.
He played a lot of special teams
said that
last year. That was about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And by the way, Jamal did the weekly position group breakdown that's published on our site. It was up on Thursday morning. If you want to read that, please do. Because
and to make it in case people can't tell, we're talking about Jamal in third person because he had to leave. He had another engagement.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Jamal's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
He died.
Jamal was here, and now Jamal's not here. Jamal's not dead.
He shall return.
Right.
He'll return.
I think he got a needle infection on his tattoo gun and had to go to the doctor. That's what it was.
Hey, that happens, man.
Anyway, I mean, Moreau is a 4.3 guy. He's got a ton of 4.35 ton of speed. He's got a good vertical, 38-inch vertical leap. So he's the young athletic stud on the roster. And so that's why I think sometimes when you're talking slot guys, it's not just all about coverage skills. Like I said with Skandrick, you have to have a guy who has burst, who can sort of keep up on the shallow routes. So that's
similar to what I said with
Josh
Dunbar.
Halsey,
Use your size to advantage. Use that speed to an advantage. Match him up against other speed guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all with the caveat that Sean said, which is we've never actually seen him play to any great extent. So, we're just assuming he can play, and that maybe we shouldn't assume that. Josh Halsey, 5'11", 195, was drafted last year in round 7 out of Auburn. This is another guy who didn't get a ton of playing time. With this, he was active for 12 games, has no tackles, no interceptions. He has 1 fumble recovery on his NFL career. He runs a 40 in the 4.5 range, and so he's got decent size, decent speed. I think he's a developmental pick, and if we can get something out of him,
How much did he play last year? Did you say?
He didn't play much. He was active for 12 games. Didn't get much playing time. Has no stats except for the 1 fumble recovery.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what a one stat to have, though, right there. If you're going to have one stat, that's a great one.
Hey, it was a turnover.
Yeah, exactly.
It's better than one crappy assisted tackle.
Yeah,
exactly.
The ultimate non-stat to have.
Yeah.
If he never plays again, he can look back on his NFL career with fondness and saying, "I got a
I
fumble
forced a
recovery."
turnover, baby.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. That doesn't mean he forced the turnover. That means you just got
Yeah,
the ball.
but when
I
he
don't even
tells the
remember.
story, he'll say he forced it, Steve, like all of us would.
Oh, a lie.
When
Okay,
he's like
lie.
50 years
That's right.
old, has a giant gut, sitting around a bar with his friends.
It was Super Bowl 53. I had just been drafted. No.
Because, there's a lot of corners out there who, when they age, they don't look like corners anymore.
No,
if you
it's
guys
not
have noticed this.
not one of those positions.
Corners and wide receivers sometimes don't look like corners and wide receivers anymore. When they get
Are you
older.
saying that Josh Norman will lose those amazing abs that we saw on Dancing with the Stars every single week?
See, I didn't see any.
man.
I didn't see any Dancing with the Stars. See, you're the one that's looking at males and with shirtless.
I mean, in my
apparently on a weekly
defense,
basis.
he didn't. I mean, these things were out every week. He wore these free-flowing shirts on purpose. It was a total transparent appeal to the judges, with the abdominals.
And it worked.
It
It worked. He got
absolutely
second.
worked, absolutely.
It got your mom into. Wasn't your mom all hot and bothered
She
over
wanted to come on our
Josh
show for a
Norman?
little
She
while and
was.
talk about it.
Well, we were.
No, we wanted her to come
her
on
to
the
go.
show. She was,
Yeah,
didn't
she
want
wasn't
to.
going to do it. But hey, if you had abs like that, you'd shove them in everyone's face too. That's for
If
sure.
I had an ab, I would shove it in
Yeah,
people's face.
any ab.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't wear a shirt ever, except when you were required to. If you had
Right.
abs like Josh
Exactly. There we go.
Norman. Okay, well let's move. It's time. This is like getting too homoerotic or something. So,
Or not
let's move on to
homoerotic
Greg
enough.
Stroman. Greg Stroman, 7th-round draft pick out of Virginia Tech. A lot of you guys out there know a lot about him because you're Virginia Tech fans. 5'11", 180 pounds. This guy is an elite athlete in terms of all-around athlete. He's not the fastest burner in the world, but he's an elite all-around athlete. The thing about Stroman is was sort of a two-way player for the Hokies. He started out as a running back. He's done a little wide receiver. He's done a little of everything. The reason why I think he was drafted is that he is a returner. He returned 127 punts in college and averaged 8.7 yards per punt, 4 touchdowns. So I think that his way onto the roster is probably as our punt returner.
Fair enough.
Thoughts on Stroman?
I agree with you.
Oh, the other thing before you go on, by the way, the other thing is he has little baby hands. Only 8 3/4 inch hands, which is amazingly small hands, Greg. So
Congratulations. We've never seen that before, Greg. Fantastic.
that's small hands, man, for an NFL player. I mean, 8 3/4. My goodness.
I got nothing.
Can you even? How do you even hold a football?
Yeah, I've got nothing to add, but that is a fantastic measurable. I love it.
Okay. Anyway, and so more on Stroman. He's got a lot of ball skills. Again, he's a natural athlete. He's got enough. I think he's got deceptive speed because you look at his 40 and go, "What? He ran a 4 or 4.8." It's good but not great. I think what the experts say, he's got enough recovery speed that helps him. So he's got burst and he has good on the field football speed. The knock about Stroman is that he's really thin and really skinny. By football player standards, he's not got a ton of strength, and so if you're looking at him to be, the one-on-one outside corner like Alex was talking about earlier with Dunbar, this is probably not
Gotcha.
Stroman's thing. He's too thin and his strength is too low. They're going, a bigger receiver like Julio Jones would swat him away like a fly. That's the thought at least. That's the knock on Stroman. So, as a corner, it's a 7th-round pick. Look, but I think why he's really here is to take Crowder's place as a punt returner. At least he's one of the we talked about this. I mean, you have Martez Carter and there's others, but this is one of the guys they drafted.
They've
to be
got
the
a
punt
couple
returner.
options at least. Finally,
Yeah, it definitely can't be
You guys
Crowder. I
wanna-
think we'd all agree with that.
Yeah,
Crowder
needs
could be
an
your
ever-duty
4th
guy.
emergency guy.
There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I want to see Trent Williams out there.
Yes, I'd pay to see
got
that.
it. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
But you guys want to hear this is my
All right.
sleeper. You ready?
Let's do it.
If you want a sleeper out of the group, Danny Johnson. Now, if you go, what's a Danny Johnson? Yeah, if you're going to say, what's a Danny Johnson? Danny Johnson is out of Southern University. He's only 5'9". His hands are bigger than Stroman's. He's got 9.25-inch hands. But this guy, he's one of the better players ever to come out of Southern University. He's an athlete. He's got speed. This is a ball hawk. He's another guy who has done some kick and punt returners. He was an all-conference player, 4-year starter, was a boundary guy, meaning an outside guy. 17 interceptions in college in 4 years. That's a ton of interceptions.
Yeah.
So you're not telling us something.
For
There's got to be something going on.
Yeah,
here.
the something is, number one, he's short. He's 5'9". Number two, he played at Southern. Which is, so you have to wonder if there's a competition issue there. Isn't Southern an HBCU? I
would have to double check.
Somebody quote me. Yeah, I think it's an HBCU, but even if it's not, we're not talking about Auburn. We're talking about Southern. So the knock on him is he's short and the competition was a little lesser. But if you want a guy who's going to be a fan favorite, who's going to make it is okay. This guy could be a fan favorite in training camp because he's going to make plays. He's going to do some fantastic things. So this is my sleeper. I mean, the knock on him is, other than what I just said, he's got some technique issues. Strength is below average. He's a little bit of an arm tackler. That's the book on him. But anyway, if you want a sleeper, Danny Johnson. I assume nobody has anything more to say about him.
I didn't even know he was on the roster until you mentioned him.
No.
See, I know. What's the Danny Johnson? Watch for that. Sleeper, Danny Johnson. Last guy, Ranthony Texada, who's out of TCU.
Ranthony?
5'10".
Ranthony.
His name is Ranthony. It's not a typo. I did not misspeak. His name is Ranthony. This is like what should we name our son, honey? How about Ranthony? I mean, I don't know where you
How about Anthony? No.
But
No.
Ranthony.
Oh, wait a minute.
Got to hit that hard R.
Yeah, I mean, Ranthony, I haven't watched any of his film. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about how he plays. It looks like from his college stats, he was a 2-year starter at TCU. He runs a 40 in about a 4.5, a little bit under a 4.5. So there you go. He's also 5'9", 5'10", about 180 pounds. So he's
a lot of
little
short
wee thing
fries
in
on
terms
this
of-
roster.
Yeah, he's kind of wee too. So he's got a long, tough road to hoe. Him and Johnson both have tough roads to hoe, obviously.
Wow. Okay.
So that is the position group breakdown. Do we want to do predictions?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
So,
I
first of
feel
all,
like
how
we're
many
all
are they
going to
gonna
be in
keep?
agreement on this one, I would suspect.
Well, let's find out. This is why we do this. I guess I'll start. I think they're probably going to keep
All right.
5. And I think the locks are obvious, right? Norman is a lock. Moreau is a lock. Dunbar's a lock. So to me, we're either playing for 2 or 3 at most additional spots. I think right now Skandrick has the inside track on the number on the next guy up.
I would really hope so.
Because he's a vet. And Jay Gruden has said some good things about him. So I think Skandrick is that guy. And so really, I think the last spot is a competition between Alexander, Holsey, Johnson, Stroman, and Texada. The 2 draft picks have the inside track on that. So, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Alexander gets the 5th one. And because I just told you guys that Danny Johnson is a sleeper, we're going to say he's in the number 6 spot, meaning number 6 or
not.
on the practice squad. And we're going to see at least a couple of these guys just that flat-out cut because they can't keep a bunch of corners on the
I mean, there's
squad.
a lot of balance between those last names that you mentioned. All the young guys coming in.
Yeah.
I'm with you that I think Skandrick gets number 4. I'm undecided, but it would be between Alexander and Stroman. I'd assume for that last spot.
Definitely, that's the 2 draft pick. Well, and people are forgetting about Halsey. Halsey's a draft pick too. So those 3 guys have the inside track.
I'm gonna lean. I don't think you spend a supplemental draft pick without expecting the guy to be on your roster. So I'm gonna lean Alexander too.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, guys, can't add anything new. It's Skandrick, Dunbar, Norman, Moreau, probably Alexander.
And I think they don't want to give up on Halsey, so that Halsey may end up on the practice squad. He's still eligible, so and Stroman. The wild card is if Stroman wins the punt job.
Right.
That's the wild card. He's not going to win the job on being a corner probably, but if he could be the 6th guy if he's the punt returner.
But at the same time, these other guys, you need guys to come in and be gunners. You need guys to play, the edge on special teams too. And, a bigger guy like Alexander is going to have an edge there, probably, just physically.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, actually. He would be definitely a tool for that squad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else we want to say about cornerbacks? I mean, how are we feeling about this squad in general? If we had to give it, say, an A to F letter grade,
I think there's the most question marks at corner on defense at this point.
Yeah.
It was a very good unit last year, but we gave up 2 guys who were part of that, and now it's a lot of question marks.
That's right.
Yeah, they drafted replacements, and
Right.
we really don't know how those replacements are going to be. I mean, it's valid. Skandrick is kind of the stabilizing force. He's not great. I went over this, but he's a vet.
We have a good idea
and
about
he can
Dunbar
help,
will do, too. At worst, he's a good third corner.
Well, I think it's really a depth
Right.
issue more than anything. It's a question mark behind the top couple guys, because even Moreau's a question mark.
Yeah, exactly. He's still a huge unknown. We're giving him like it's a foregone conclusion, and we don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I think they're not going to be great, and I think they're not going to be terrible. There's kind of a range in there, but they're not going to be on either one of the extremes. That would be my guess. Cool. From there, all right, cool. So obviously, keep checking back at thehogside.com. We got written content, like Steve said, coming out all the time. Jamal has these awesome position group breakdowns that we talk about on the show, so make sure you're checking out that. Steve's new articles, Alex's new articles, as we continue to chug through the off season. We will see you guys next week. Take care.
Bye.